Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the weight you carry ain't your own. You're walking through life tired, worn out, heavy, because you're carrying people who were never meant to go the whole way with you. God didn't call you to drag, He called you to rise. This is the season where you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even bandage you. It's time, yes, I said it's time, to focus on yourself and let them go. There comes a moment in your journey when you realize not everybody around you is meant to continue with you. It's a hard truth, it's a quiet pain, but it's a necessary wisdom. Everybody starts with you, but not everybody finishes with you. Some people are scaffolding. They were there to help you build, but they were never part of the finished structure. And the mistake too many of us make is trying to hold on to people God already told us to release. You're carrying people that were only assigned to your past when God is calling you into your next. You keep wondering why it feels so heavy, why it feels like you're dragging something. You're not just tired from the journey. You're tired from carrying passengers who have no ticket for the destination. You've been paying the fare for people who don't even believe in the trip. Listen to me, everyone can't go where you're going. You've got a call on your life, a purpose on your name, a fire in your bones, but the higher God calls you, the fewer people can come. It's not because they're bad, it's not because you're better, it's because elevation requires separation. Look at the eagle. When it takes off to soar, it doesn't rise with a crowd. It rises alone. Not because it doesn't love other birds, but because they don't have the wingspan or the wind capacity to handle that altitude. And some of you are trying to fly while being yoked to people with a crawling mindset. You want to soar, they want to settle. You're trying to evolve, they're trying to entertain. You're pressing forward, they're pulling back. And if you don't discern the difference between companionship and assignment, you'll delay your own destiny trying to carry dead weight. Think about this, even Jesus had to leave some folks behind. In Mark 5, when he went to raise Jairus' daughter, he only took Peter, James, and John. He didn't take the crowd, he didn't even take all 12. He took the few who had the faith to witness a resurrection, because you can't bring doubt into a room where God is about to move, and that's your word. You can't bring doubt into your next season. You can't bring people who gossip more than they grow. You can't bring people who tolerate you but don't celebrate you. You can't keep handing out backstage passes to people who only show up when it benefits them. Stop shrinking your vision to make room for people who never saw it in the first place. You've outgrown some relationships. And that's not arrogance, it's awareness. You've changed, you've evolved, you've been praying, fasting, healing, learning. You've been walking through fire, and the fire changed you, and now you're wondering why the people who used to understand you suddenly can't recognize you. It's because God revealed a version of you they were never introduced to. They only knew the insecure you, the broken you, the yes to everything, you. But this you, this healed, focused, self-aware, boundary-setting, purpose-driven you, they don't know how to handle that. But don't you dare apologize for it. Don't you dare dim your light to make them comfortable. Don't you dare climb back down the mountain to explain what God whispered to you in the clouds. Some people are allergic to your growth. Let them be uncomfortable, let them misunderstand, let them talk. You keep rising anyway. Let's be clear, letting go isn't bitterness. It's boldness, it's not revenge, it's release. You're not cutting people off with anger. You're moving forward with intention. You don't need drama, you need destiny. You don't need cliques, you need clarity. God is calling you higher, higher in mindset, higher in vision, higher in standard, higher in purpose. And the air is thinner up there. Everybody can't breathe where you're going, so you've got to stop resuscitating what God is trying to remove, that friendship, that relationship, that circle that drains you, mocks you, or manipulates you. It may be familiar, but it's not fruitful, and if it's not feeding your purpose, it's fighting your purpose. Let it go. Do you remember Abraham and Lot? God said, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to a land I will show you." But Abraham brought Lot anyway. And Lot wasn't evil, but he was extra, and eventually the land couldn't support them both. Conflict broke out, strife showed up, and Abraham had to say, "You go your way, I'll go mine." Some of you need to have that same conversation. You go your way, I'll go mine. It doesn't mean I hate you. It means I've got to honor what's ahead of me more than I cling to what's behind me. It means I love you, but I love my peace more. I love my growth more. I love my assignment more. And listen, when Abraham finally separated from Lot, then the Lord said, "Look around from where you are. All the land that you see I will give to you. What if your next level is waiting on your next release? What if the clarity, the favor, the vision, the breakthrough that you've been praying for is being held up by who you're still holding on to? You're not doing anybody a favor by shrinking. You're not showing loyalty by staying stuck. And you're not walking in love by abandoning your own calling. This is your permission slip to move forward. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. You don't even have to announce it. Just walk, just rise, just focus on where God is taking you, and trust that those meant to go will catch up. But if they don't, if they get offended, if they walk away, let them go, because everybody can't go where you're going. And that's okay. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead out. You were never called to carry everyone. You were called to carry purpose. And the sooner you release what no longer aligns, the sooner you'll rise into what's truly divine. So stop waiting for consensus. Stop apologizing for elevation. And start walking in the fullness of who you were born to be. You've got places to go, mountains to climb, and lives to change. And you don't need a crowd to do it. You just need the courage to know everyone can't go where you're going. There's a dangerous lie that too many of us have been taught. A lie wrapped in the language of kindness, coated with the flavor of humility, but soaked in the poison of burnout. And the lie is this: if you really love people, you'll always put yourself last. But I came to break that lie today. I came to remind somebody neglect is not selflessness. You're not proving your worth by draining yourself. You're not winning God's favor by ignoring your needs. And you are not walking in love if you're walking on empty. You've mistaken martyrdom for ministry. You've confused exhaustion for excellence. But let me tell you, there is nothing noble about being numb. There is nothing holy about being hollow. Self-neglect is not a badge of honor. It is a wound dressed up as a trophy. Let's get honest. Some of us are tired, but not just tired in our bodies. We are tired in our minds. Tired in our hearts, tired in our souls, because we've spent years being everything for everyone, while slowly becoming nothing to ourselves. You pour, and you pour, and you pour, and you give, and you fix. And you show up, and you cover, and you pray for everybody else, but nobody's praying for you. And now you smile on the outside while crumbling inside. You perform strength, but you're screaming for rest. And you keep going because you're afraid of what would happen if you stopped. Let me tell you something. God never called you to die for people He already died for. You are not the Savior. You are not the source. You are a vessel, not a sacrifice. There is a difference between serving others and sacrificing yourself. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, and not instead of yourself, not in place of yourself. Not to the exclusion of yourself. The standard is as yourself. You are the reference point for the love you give. But how can you love your neighbor well when you treat yourself like an afterthought? You can't keep running on fumes and calling it faith. You can't keep bleeding behind the scenes while dancing in the spotlight. At some point, you've got to pause and ask, what about me? Because let's be real, you're not okay. And pretending you are doesn't make you strong, it makes you sick. We've got to stop teaching people that selflessness means self-harasia, that to love others we must abandon ourselves. That real strength is silence, that real faith is burnout, that real holiness is being used until there's nothing left of you. That's not the gospel, that's not healthy, and that's not sustainable. You've been taught to feel guilty for resting. for saying no, for having boundaries, for taking time to heal, for admitting that you're not superhuman. But hear me, boundaries don't make you mean, they make you wise. Jesus had boundaries. Yes, he healed the sick. Yes, he fed the multitudes. Yes, he walked with the broken, but he also withdrew. He also said no. He also rested. He also went to the mountain alone to pray, because even Jesus, in all his divinity, understood the value of separation, restoration, and solitude. You think you're holding it all together, but it's falling apart. You've been parenting everyone but yourself, counseling others while ignoring your own trauma, coaching people into purpose while your own soul is lost. And every night you cry behind closed doors, wondering why no one sees the depth of your ache. Here's the truth: you taught them not to, you trained them to expect your yes, you normalized your availability, you made yourself the reliable one, the rock, the rescuer, the glue, and now you don't know how to ask for help because you've never needed to in their eyes. But I want to talk to you, the one who's always fine, always strong, always serving. You don't have to lose yourself to love others. You don't have to break to prove your loyalty. You don't have to be invisible to make others shine. Self-care is not selfish. It is sacred. Taking care of yourself is not abandoning your calling. It's sustaining it. You can't pour into others if you're spiritually bankrupt. You can't give peace if you live in chaos. You can't preach freedom while you're shackled by emotional chains. Some of you are praying for healing, and God is saying, start with yourself. Eat better. Sleep more, talk to someone, set a boundary, say no to the extra commitment, log off, take that vacation, cry if you need to, get therapy, journal, say what you really feel, breathe, because you matter too. You are not just a role, you are not just a title, you are not just a provider, a pastor, a parent, a partner. You are a person, a soul, a heart, a child of God. It's time to check your reflection, not the one in the mirror, but the one in your habits. When was the last time you said yes to yourself? When was the last time you put your own peace on your calendar? When was the last time you asked yourself what you want, what you need, what you feel? Because until you do, you will continue to live in fragments, serving others with the pieces of yourself you never had time to glue back together. That's not legacy, that's not love, that's survival, and God didn't call you to survive. He called you to thrive. So today is your wake-up call, your divine permission, your holy interruption. Self-neglect is not selflessness. Let that sink in. You don't have to run yourself into the ground to be valued. You don't have to stay broken to be needed. You don't have to disappear to be loved. You can take care of you and still serve others. You can honor your own soul and still be a vessel for healing. You can rest and still walk in purpose, because a full you is a faithful you, a whole you is a holy you, a rested you is a ready you. So fix your crown, take a breath, look yourself in the mirror and declare, I am not selfish for saving myself. You are not wrong for protecting your peace. You are not weak for needing space. You are not broken for needing help. You are wise, you are growing, you are awakening. And from this day forward, you will no longer apologize for putting yourself on your own list. Self-neglect is not selflessness. You are worth the same love you give. There's a truth we all must face sooner or later on the road to purpose. It's not easy, but it's necessary. It doesn't feel good, but it sets you free. Here it is. Not everyone is assigned to your destiny. They may be assigned to your history. They may be tied to your memories. They may have walked with you in your past. But when God has called you, when He has anointed you, when He has ordained your steps, He doesn't always make room for company. Let me tell you something. Destiny is not a group project. It's personal, it's sacred, it's strategic, and just because someone started with you doesn't mean they're qualified to finish with you. We often confuse proximity with purpose. Just because someone is close to you doesn't mean they're called to you. Just because they love you doesn't mean they're assigned to your future. There's a difference between who's loyal to your comfort and who's loyal to your calling. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that needs them, but they can't handle the version of you that leads them. They were fine when you were broken, when you were insecure, when you were playing small. But now that you're healing, now that you're setting boundaries, now that you're dreaming bigger, they're getting quiet, they're getting distant, they're getting critical, and you keep trying to drag them into a destiny they were never designed for. Let me break this down for you. Every elevation requires a renovation of relationships, and renovations get messy. Think about Abraham. God gave him a promise, go to a land I will show you. That was his word, his call, his assignment, but Abraham took Lot with him, his nephew, and for a while things seemed fine. But the higher Abraham rose, the more tension there was. The land couldn't sustain them both. Strife broke out. And eventually, Abraham had to say, we must part ways. Watch this. It wasn't until after Lot left that God gave Abraham the full vision of the promise. Some visions won't be released until certain people are removed. You've been praying, God, show me what's next. But God is saying, I can't show you until you let go of who's not next. You've been carrying people who are only meant to witness your journey, not walk the whole path with you. They're spectators, not partners. They're passengers, not pilots. And the longer you keep them on board, the more delayed your takeoff becomes. Some people are weights, not wings. They're distractions dressed as support. They're comfort zones disguised as community. They don't challenge you, they contain you. They don't inspire you, they interrupt you. And deep down, you know it. You can feel the misalignment. You can sense the friction. But you keep saying, I've known them too long. I owe them. No, you owe your future, you owe your calling. You owe the God who entrusted you with purpose. Let me make it plain. Destiny requires discernment. You've got to ask yourself, are they feeding my purpose or draining it? Are they building my vision or blocking it? Are they helping me grow or keeping me grounded? Because not everyone is assigned to your next. Judas was close to Jesus, but he wasn't assigned to his future, only his betrayal, and Jesus still loved him, still washed his feet, still broke bread with him, but he never tried to stop Judas from walking away. Some of you are chasing people who are meant to exit your life. You're trying to convince, trying to explain, trying to prove, trying to hold on. But hear me, you don't need their permission to walk in your purpose. You don't need their approval to become who God called you to be. Let them go. Destiny is not determined by crowd consensus. It's often a lonely path, a narrow road. That's why Jesus said, wide is the gate that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and few find it. Few, that means you can't bring everybody with you. You can't take everyone to the mountaintop. Some people will only thrive in the valley, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It doesn't mean they're beneath you. It just means their season in your story has expired. And it's time to turn the page. Some relationships are expired assignments. They taught you something. They served a purpose. They filled a gap. But now, they're holding you hostage to a version of you that no longer exists. And every time you try to step into your calling, they remind you of who you used to be. You say, I'm ready to lead. And they say, but weren't you the one who messed up last year? You say, God gave me a vision. And they say, you sure you're not really the type? You say, I'm moving forward. And they start pulling you back with guilt, with manipulation, with fear. That's not alignment, that's sabotage. You can't fulfill your destiny while staying loyal to dysfunction. Some people are only loyal to your wounds, not your healing. Loyal to your struggle, not your strength. Loyal to your potential failure, not your inevitable success. Let them go, not with bitterness. Not with malice, but with clarity, with love, with release. Say, I bless you, I love you, but I can't take you into what God has for me. I won't sacrifice my promise for the sake of your comfort, because destiny is too expensive to be delayed by dead weight. I need you to hear this in your spirit. You don't need a crowd to be called. You don't need applause to have authority. You don't need agreement to have anointing. Some of the greatest moves of God in your life will happen in obscurity, in silence, in solitude. And it's there, in the quiet places, where God will strip away who doesn't belong and reveal who does. So stop mourning what walked away. Stop chasing what God removed. Stop clinging to connections that were only meant to teach you, not travel with you. Not everyone is assigned to your destiny, and that's not a loss, that's liberation. This is your confirmation, your permission, your release. The time for guilt is over. The time for delays is done. You're not selfish for moving on. You're not cold for choosing peace. You're not arrogant for protecting your purpose. You're just focused. You're just aligned. You're just finally ready to step into what was yours all along. So walk forward, with courage, with clarity, with conviction, and don't look back. Because your destiny is waiting, and not everyone is assigned to it. There is a sacred principle that governs every season of elevation, a principle that separates the mature from the stuck, the wise from the weary, and the fruitful from the barren. It is not flashy, it is not easy, but it is essential, and that principle is this: letting go makes room for growth. You cannot hold on to what was and fully receive what is coming. You cannot live in yesterday and embrace tomorrow. You cannot be full of old weight and expect fresh strength. Letting go is not just an act of surrender, it's an act of spiritual maturity. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not quitting, it's qualifying for the next dimension of your life. Some of you are stuck right now, not because you aren't gifted, not because you're not called, not because you don't love God, but because you're holding on to what God is telling you to release. You're holding on to an expired friendship, holding on to a failed opportunity, holding on to who you used to be, holding on to the old version of yourself that God has been trying to grow you out of. And you're wondering why things feel tight, why your joy feels distant, why your spirit feels heavy. It's not always the devil. Sometimes it's the clutter. Sometimes the breakthrough can't come because there's no room for it. You've filled your heart with so much fear, so much resentment, so many what-ifs, so many used-to-bes. There's no space left for the new thing God is trying to do. Letting go is a spiritual pruning. In John 15, Jesus said, "Every branch in me that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit." He didn't say he cuts off what's dead. He said he prunes what's alive. What's working, what's producing. Sometimes it's not the broken thing that God removes, it's the good thing, the thing you thought was going to last forever, the job you thought was permanent, the relationship you thought was the one, the comfort zone you thought was safe, because God knows what you don't. He sees what's ahead. He's not just concerned about today's fruit. He's focused on tomorrow's harvest, and he knows that growth requires room. So he prunes, he cuts, he shifts, not to hurt you, but to grow you. Think about a tree in springtime. As the weather warms, the old leaves fall away to make room for new buds. If the old leaves stayed stuck, they'd choke out the potential for new life. Some of you are carrying dried up leaves into a new season. Old thinking, old patterns, old insecurities, old guilt, old wounds, old expectations, and God is saying, let it go. I'm trying to grow you, but you're too full of what used to be. Let me talk to the one who's afraid to let go. The one who says, but I invested so much time in this. I thought they were my forever. I don't know who I am without this role. Let me remind you of something. Nothing you release in obedience to God will ever be wasted. Not the years, not the tears, not the lessons, not the love. God is the master recycler. He takes what you thought was lost and uses it as fertilizer for your future. But he can't multiply what you won't surrender. Letting go is not just about losing, it's about making room, room for clarity, room for peace, room for real joy. Not the kind that looks good in pictures, but the kind that makes you breathe again. Room for purpose. Room for the people who are actually called to walk with you in your next chapter. Room for new habits, new mindsets, new discipline, new direction. Room for the new you that is emerging. But that new you is suffocating under the weight of who you used to be. Do you know how many people stay stuck because they confuse familiarity with destiny? They stay in broken cycles because at least it's predictable. They settle for average because it's comfortable. They hold on to people who hurt them because they're used to it. But growth is not comfortable. Growth stretches. Growth breaks things open. Growth challenges your identity. Growth demands separation. Sometimes growth feels like loss at first. Sometimes you have to feel the ache of goodbye before you can walk into the glory of what's next. But hear me, you cannot heal in the same place you got wounded. You cannot evolve in the same room you were underestimated in. You've got to move, and moving requires letting go. Remember the story of the rich young ruler. Jesus told him, "Sell everything and follow me." Not because Jesus needed his money, but because Jesus knew that what he had was blocking who he was called to be, and the young man walked away sad. Not because Jesus rejected him, but because he couldn't let go of what was lesser to receive what was greater. Let me ask you, what are you walking away from your future to protect? What have you made an idol? What are you holding onto so tightly that your hands aren't free to receive the next blessing? You've been crying out for growth, for more, for transformation, and God is answering, but not the way you expected. Sometimes the first step in the answer is subtraction. Before God adds anything new, he subtracts what no longer fits. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's confusing. Yes, it feels like something is being ripped away. But what if what's being ripped away is the thing that's been limiting you all along? Letting go is not always a loss, it's a graduation. You are not being punished, you are being promoted, but promotions require release. So here is your invitation. Let go of the bitterness, let go of the version of you that was never enough. Let go of the identity shaped by people who didn't know your worth. Let go of the fear that says you won't survive without them. Let go of the fantasy that's keeping you from healing in reality. Let go of the false responsibility to carry everyone. Let go of what died. Mourn it, honor it, bless it, but release it, because resurrection doesn't happen until something is buried. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom, it's the brave choice, it's the hard yes, it's the seed you plant in the soil of faith, trusting that something better will bloom, and let me tell you, it will, because growth is coming, and what's ahead of you is far greater than what's behind you. But to grow, you must let go, so release it. Clear the space, make room, because your next chapter is too big for small attachments. And your future is too glorious to stay stuck in the past. Letting go makes room for growth. Now breathe and step forward in a world obsessed with hustle, performance, applause, and platform. Let me declare a truth that will set somebody free today. Peace is the new success. You see, we've been taught to chase things. We've been taught to measure our value by numbers. How many followers, how many zeros in the bank account, how many titles, how many degrees, how many people clap when we walk into the room. But you can have all of that and still be miserable. You can have influence but no identity. You can have clout but no clarity. You can have money in the bank and chaos in your mind. You can have a house full of stuff and a heart full of stress. So what's the point of gaining the world if you lose your soul? What's the point of being seen if you're never settled? What's the point of climbing ladders that don't lead to peace? Somewhere along the way, we've confused noise with impact. We've confused popularity with purpose. We've confused movement with meaning. But true success is not about how loud your life is. It's about how still your soul is. It's not about how fast you're running. It's about how deeply you're resting. It's not about how high you rise in society. It's about how rooted you are in your spirit. Let me say it again for the people in the back. Peace is the new success. Because when you have peace, you can think clearly. When you have peace, you can sleep soundly. When you have peace, you can love freely. When you have peace, you don't need to prove, pretend, or perform. You are settled in who you are, rooted in who God is, and unshaken by what others say. Can I be real with you? There are some people who look like they're winning, but they're weeping behind the scenes. There are people clapping in public but crying in private because they chased everything except peace. They climbed the mountain of success and found that the air was thin and the silence was deafening. And some of you are heading that way now. You're exhausted, burned out, overworked, undernurtured. You're producing for others but starving on the inside. You've got a name, but you've lost yourself. You're moving, but you're not whole, and that's not success. That's slavery. You've become a slave to their expectations, a slave to your image, a slave to busyness, a slave to applause. But peace sets you free. Peace says, I don't need to be everywhere. I don't need to be everything. I don't need to impress anyone. Peace is the still, quiet knowing that God is with me, God is for me, and I am enough in Him. Peace is choosing rest over rush, presence over pressure, obedience over outcome. Listen, you don't have to hustle to earn what's already yours. You don't have to chase what God has already called you to. You don't have to be loud to be legitimate. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is be still and know. That's what Scripture says, isn't it? Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness is not weakness. It's strategy, it's trust, it's warfare. Because in the stillness, God can whisper what you couldn't hear in the noise. In the stillness, clarity rises. In the stillness, strength is renewed. Let me tell you what real success looks like. Waking up with joy instead of dread. Laughing without faking, loving without fear, creating without competing, walking through your day with your soul at ease, praying, not performing, listening to your inner voice instead of chasing external noise. That's peace, that's success. Peace doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means your perspective is anchored. It means the storm can rage around you, but the storm doesn't live in you. It means you don't panic when plans change. You don't fall apart when people leave. You don't lose yourself when you're misunderstood. Because peace is not built on circumstances. It's built on certainty. The certainty that God is still in control, even when life is not. Hear me, the new currency is peace, not power, not prestige, not possessions, because you can replace a title, you can rebuild a business, you can recover from a loss. But if you lose your peace, you lose yourself. That's why some of the wealthiest people in the world are seeking therapy, searching for meaning, grasping for healing, because all their success didn't satisfy the ache in their soul. All their influence didn't silence the anxiety. All their followers didn't fix their inner fracture. Peace is the real flex. Peace is the real power. Peace is the real success. Let me flip the question. What if you didn't ask, how much money did I make this year? But instead, how much peace did I protect? What if you didn't ask, how many people know my name? But how deeply am I known by God? What if you didn't say, I stayed busy, but I stayed whole? That's the kind of success that doesn't burn you out. That's the kind of success that doesn't require sacrificing your soul on the altar of ambition. So this is your permission slip to unclench your jaw, to put the phone down, to walk away from chaos, to say no without guilt, to choose a smaller circle if it means a stronger peace, to decline the invitation if it costs you rest, to disappoint others to stay aligned with God, because peace is expensive, and you can't keep trading it for likes, checks, or validation. Conclusion: if you have peace, you're rich. If you have peace, you're powerful. If you have peace, you're truly successful. So protect it, fight for it, cultivate it. Don't sell it for cheap, because you can't thrive when your soul is bankrupt. You can't lead from a restless heart. You can't build anything eternal on a foundation of anxiety. But when you have peace, you are unstoppable, because no storm can shake a grounded soul. No opinion can disturb a centered mind. And no failure can rob a peaceful spirit. So today, trade the chaos for calm, trade the race for rest, trade the image for intimacy, and know that peace is the new success. Now go live like it. Let me tell you something that the world will rarely say to you. Something that algorithms won't affirm, that social media won't echo, and that culture won't celebrate. You are enough as you are, right now, not when you lose 10 pounds, not when you get the promotion, not when you get married, Not when your bank account matches your dreams, but now, right now, as you are. The world has conditioned us to believe that our worth is something we have to earn, that we must constantly do, produce, and prove in order to be accepted. But there is a divine truth that smashes through that lie. You were not created to perform for approval. You were created out of purpose, formed by the hands of the Creator, breathed into by the Spirit of God, and that by itself makes you enough. Let's get real. We live in a society that feeds off insecurity. Entire industries profit off you believing that you are not enough. If you believed you were already beautiful, confident, and whole, you wouldn't need half the products you're marketed. If you believed you were already chosen, you wouldn't chase relationships that drain you. If you believed you were already complete, you wouldn't keep running yourself ragged trying to prove your value to people who barely even know your name. But hear me today, you were never meant to be exhausted trying to earn love you already have. You see, the enemy doesn't always come to steal your things, sometimes he comes to steal your truth. Because if he can get you to believe you're not enough, you'll forfeit your power. You'll shrink, you'll settle, you'll apologize for who you are, you'll hide your voice, diminish your gift, play small, stay silent, and all the while God is calling you into the fullness of your design. But you can't walk boldly when you're walking in shame. You can't take territory when you're doubting your identity. And you can't step into purpose while questioning your presence. Let me remind you of something sacred. Before you had a title, before you had a degree, before you had accolades, before you had followers, you were already enough. God looked at dust, formed it into a man, breathed life into it, and called it good. He didn't wait for Adam to perform before he affirmed him. He didn't say, once you name the animals, then I'll love you. No, before Adam did a single thing, God blessed him. That's the same blessing over you. You're not valuable because of your performance. You're valuable because of your presence, because you exist, because you were born, because heaven stamped purpose into your DNA before you took your first breath. But I know life has a way of making us forget that. People leave, doors close, you get overlooked, you get hurt, you fail, and somewhere in the pain you start to question yourself. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'll never be good enough. But I came to break every lie that was ever spoken over you. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not a mistake. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not lacking. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are enough as you are. Now don't get it twisted. Being enough doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you don't have areas to grow. But it means this: your growth isn't a condition for love. It's a response to it. You grow because you're enough not to become enough. You evolve from a place of wholeness, not desperation. You pursue excellence not to earn worth, but because you already have it. When you know you're enough, your whole posture shifts. You stop begging for validation. You stop bending for acceptance. You stop comparing your journey. You stop apologizing for your presence. You stop hiding behind filters, behind roles, behind what you think people want you to be. Because the real you, the authentic, raw, unedited, vulnerable you is not only worthy. You are needed. Your voice, your story, your experiences, your ideas, your uniqueness. God didn't create a copy of someone else when He made you. He broke the mold and called it very good. Let me speak to the one who feels unseen right now. You're doing your best. You're showing up every day. You're holding it together for everybody else, and yet you feel invisible. You feel like you don't measure up, like you're falling short. Can I remind you of something? You don't have to do more to be loved. You don't have to fix yourself to be enough. God loves you in the mess, in the middle, in the waiting, in the insecurity, in the imperfection. And that love doesn't change based on your performance. That love doesn't waver when you fall. That love doesn't shrink when you doubt. That love doesn't quit when you question. That love is constant, steady, fierce, unshakable. And when you really believe that, something powerful happens. You come home to yourself. You stop running. You stop chasing. You stop trying to be everything for everybody. You plant your feet. You lift your head and you say, I am enough. I'm not going to prove it. I'm going to live it. That's the power of knowing who you are. That's the strength of walking in identity. That's the freedom that comes when you stop performing and start being. Conclusion: the world will always try to make you forget. But today, let this be your reminder: you are enough. Not when you achieve more, not when you look different, not when you have it all together, but now. You are enough when you're in process. You are enough when you're healing. You are enough when you're doubting. You are enough in the valley, in the storm, in the in-between. You are enough when no one sees you, because God sees you, and He doesn't see your flaws. He sees your future. So walk boldly, speak freely. Live fully, because you are already everything He intended you to be, and that, beloved, is more than enough. After everything you've heard, after every truth we've uncovered together, I pray that one thing is clear: you were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to chase people, perform for approval, or prove your worth. You were called to rise, to grow, to let go, to protect your peace, to walk in your purpose, to stand firm in your identity. There comes a moment in every life where you must choose: do I keep carrying what's killing me, or do I make space for what's meant for me? Do I keep chasing people who were never assigned to my destiny, or do I turn inward, do the inner work, and finally realize that I am enough? Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. And walking in peace isn't passive, it's powerful. The loudest life isn't always the most successful. The most crowded life isn't always the most fulfilled. The busiest person isn't always the most blessed. What if the real success is sleeping with a clear mind, loving with an open heart, waking up with purpose, not pressure? What if the real breakthrough isn't about getting more, but releasing more? You don't need more noise. You need more alignment. You don't need more followers. You need more faith. You don't need more applause. You need more authenticity. And when you begin to believe that, you stop striving and start living. You stop chasing and start becoming. So this is your moment, your turning point, your permission to stop running and come home to yourself, to stop surviving and start thriving. Because at the end of the day, everything you've been looking for, it's already inside of you. Now rise up, let them go, breathe deep, stand tall, and walk boldly into the next chapter of your life, full of peace, full of power, and full of purpose, because you are enough as you are. And your destiny is too important to delay any longer.